everybody, and welcome out to the JonTron of podcasts, Pod of War. We're back after a 26-month absence yet again.
I don't think it's been that long.
No, it's been like 3 months. And we're doing another retrocast today.
We're actually bringing the one that we said we would last time.
The promise, yeah. We're doing the Dreamcast cast.
Yeah.
And I'm your host, EofGizmo. I'm joined forever and for always. I will never escape. It's masofdas.
Hi, everyone.
And we're talking about Chris's second favourite console of all time, the revelation on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Well, we're talking about Sega's last ever console today. We're talking about the SEGA Dreamcast. Came out in Japan in 98. Came out everywhere else in 99.
Yes.
Yeah.
The famous 99.
99 in America. Was that over here? Because it was like
no,
November,
it was
wasn't
like the month later or something.
Yeah. I remember we got off Chris. We'll talk about that. But yeah, the Dreamcast, man. 20 years old in Japan.
Yeah, it's just
How does that
27th of
How does that make you feel?
Quite old.
Well, we have some Sega Dreamcast official UK magazines in front of us that are 18 years old.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just
they
like,
can drink, they can have sex, they can get married.
Yeah, it does make you feel old, and then when you think about it, it's like the same generation as like the PS2, Xbox, and Cube, and you think for like, oh, we're now on the PS like 4, so it's like 2. It just seems when you put it in that perspective,
Yeah, it's that,
and even worse than Nintendo, Cube, Wii U, and now Switch. It makes it go, whoa, that was a long time.
It was that weird long gen.
Yeah.
The two longest gens, right? 6 and 7. So they hung around for a while. But anyway, we're going to talk about the Dreamcast today. We're going to talk about our memories first, and then we've got a sneaky little feature that we hope will probably be like a harbinger for the truth. We're going to talk about the Dreamcast Classic Mini. We're going to fantasy book our own. There's going to be some disagreements.
Yeah.
There'll be 20 games plus one, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So first of all, Chris, obviously you're well known for being a follower of the Dreamcast. You have a massive Dreamcast collection of
just over 230 games.
Which is the PAL, most of the PAL ones, right?
It's mainly PAL. I am missing 9 official PAL games. There's 2 odd ones. There's a Flintstones game and a 4x4 one. Each rumoured to have like review promo discs out in the world because there is reviews of the games, but they never got an official release. And obviously, I do have some American, some homebrew, indie stuff like PS Solar sealed on it, for instance.
So before we talk about our own memories, we'll talk about the craziest thing about the Dreamcast. Obviously, the Dreamcast was the last Sega console, and thus has become the sort of beacon for Sega fans, right? So like it's lived on like crazy. The last sort of 5 to 10 years, it's probably had more of a life than a lot of other consoles.
It still had official, like I say, not from Sega, but you know, like officially licensed Sega games until 2007 in Japan.
Yeah.
So that's good. I think that's
which is obviously 6 years after it was discontinued.
Yeah.
And in Japan, Sega is still a household name, like still Disney over there. So that's not really a surprise. But even over here, like you've got companies now like Josh Prod in Europe buying up licenses and porting games like official, basically official. So officially you're gonna get.
There's like technically like a sort
Flashback
of...
is one that they own.
Yeah.
There's loads more. There's the 4x4 game.
Yeah.
4x4 Off-Road, I think it's called. That
was a port of a PSP game.
Strikers, something like that. What's it called?
Yeah.
You know the one I mean.
Yeah, it's a fighting game.
But there's loads of them. Because I'm actually registered to them, and I get an email almost every fucking week about some game in France coming out, and it's crazy. And that's really like because
I've kickstarted a few stuff. Like I have Alice's Dream.
Yeah, you've got
tournament.
PS Solar as well.
Which I got.
It's on everything.
Elysian Shadows. Still not got that game. I think like the bloke ran off the money, something like that.
It happens. Yeah. You know, we haven't been.
That's $75.
We haven't been smart enough to try that ourselves yet. But yeah, so the Dreamcast is still alive and well, and they've got the Dream Pie, which we've talked about before, doing really well. I think the last, don't quote the numbers here, but I'm pretty sure I read about 300 players they have now. Some even about 50 concurrent, which is mad. They've got a lot of games, like 20 games up now. They've got the servers back up for them. It's crazy. It's got more of a life than the Wii U.
Yeah.
And I love the Wii U, but it died like 2 years ago. Last year.
It is sort of really strange.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It just keeps going. It will never die.
The Dreamcast will never die, not until the consoles die. But then they might. We might figure that out later on. We discuss what the classics. So I'll talk about my memories in a mo because I can remember mine pretty vividly, to be honest. Chris, what are your sort of biggest memories about the Dreamcast?
A strange one. I actually talk about this on a podcast with Jay on the GName forum, but that's still not gone up.
Nice.
But I was saving up for a PS2. Obviously, I had a PS1, I didn't have a Saturn.
Yeah.
And then I went to this local independent game shop, and they had games consoles set up. And I played like Gran Turismo 3 or something like that on PS2. I thought this is good. And you like paid like a quid for like 5 minutes. So I've then played the Dreamcast. I played Sonic Adventure. Like the first level with like with the killer whale and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is absolutely.
Is that Emerald Coast?
I can't remember. And I was like,
I love that game.
And I was like, I can't. I was like, this is absolutely brilliant. I might get one of these instead. And then I went to my nan and granddad's the weekend or something, and I saw in the free ads or the ad mark, the yellow pages of you, someone selling a used Dreamcast for like what I had saved up for my PS2.
Yeah.
And it was like 100 quid with, I think it had Jet Set Radio, Choo Choo Rocket, Soul Calibur, MSR, and bloke had like set up, because obviously I didn't have like the computer back like there, set up like all the internet and stuff on, and then when we went to Exeter to go get it, like show me how the internet works, and it's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And like he downloaded like user created like maps for Choo Choo Rocket on like the VMUs, so that's how I bought mine. So I never actually got one on launch, but it was actually it was obviously after the launch of Dreamcast, but before the PS2 sort of. Well, the PS2 launched, but it was like the year after. It must have been like...
It was... I think it was 2001 over here.
Yeah, it must have been like...
It was early, because I remember there wasn't a lot of games for it.
Yeah, so it was just after sort of... So that's how I first got mine, and I remember like there's a toy shop in Exeter that somehow using sold Dreamcast games. I think that's... I can't remember why... well, that's how I got a few games and stuff like that for it. How I got a big collection was when I was like doing boot sales and markets. I'd like buy like stock, and then like, this Dreamcast game looks quite good and stuff like that. And the next minute, I had like 90 Dreamcast games.
We'll talk about collections in a minute. Yeah, because we'll talk about because your collection for the Dreamcast is insane.
Yeah,
and it's a fun console to collect for. So my memory's actually kind of completely different. So Christmas of '99. Yeah, I believe it was Christmas '99. It must have been, because we've got issues here that are old otherwise. I remember me and my brother with my mum and dad went to Curry's, and we played, I believe, Sonic Adventure on a kiosk. Yeah. Now we were Sega kids, like we had, like I've talked about many times. We had the Master System and a Saturn and stuff like that, like Game Gear and all that. Like, we loved Sega. So that Christmas, my parents decided to buy my brother. Weirdly, I don't know why it wasn't shared. This still gets argued at a dinner table, actually. But I bought my brother a Dreamcast, and I remember very vividly, like Christmas week, I came downstairs one night to go to the toilet, and all the living room was shut, and the sofas were moved, and I was like, "What's going on here?" Poked my head in. My mum and dad were sat there playing Sonic Adventure, just making sure it worked. So we've all done this, haven't we? Just making sure it works. So that Christmas, we got Sonic Adventure. It was a Tomb Raider game. I don't know which one. I think it was Last Revelation, but it could have been Chronicles. It was one or the other. Yeah. It was whichever one was out, because it was two, wasn't there, on the Dreamcast? Whichever one was out first. Choo Choo Rocket, and there was a racing game, and I feel like it was Revolt, but it might not have been, but I think it was Revolt. And we had the internet. We sat there and played Choo Choo Rocket. We downloaded the weird Christmas things you could download for Sonic Adventure, and like my brother, to be honest with you, my brother barely played the Dreamcast. It basically got assimilated into my room, and then when we got a PS2, he had the PS2. I'd never really touched the PS2.
So what did you get that Christmas?
I didn't get much, because I always wind my parents every Christmas. I wind my parents up about this because I have like a stupidly good memory. Yeah. And it was like, I remember I believe I got some Game Boy stuff. Yeah. Or like some Game Gear. So I didn't get like any. It was quite clearly less money spent. Yeah. I don't know why, because my brother was never the gamer, really. So it was kind of like, okay. I mean, they've obviously got two controllers, and we were supposed to play together. For some reason, they just decided to bundle it for Lewis. But UEFA Strikers was the other game. That was the other one. Yeah. But yeah. So I remember my Dreamcast memories. I remember buying Dreamcast games at the time when it was a relevant thing. I remember going into electronic boutiques in Taunton, which is now Game, and they had a bin. It was never on the shelf. I never once saw Dreamcast games on the shelf. There was a bin in the middle, and that's where I would buy. I remember buying Virtual Tennis. I remember buying Pen Tri-Isolon. God, what else did I have? There was a load of Star Wars games, Jedi Power Battles. I remember Fur Fighters, and all. So I'll talk about the games that aren't on our list. Really, like stuff like Fur Fighters, like blew my mind at the time. Quake Arena, Quake 3 Arena, playing that online was insane in 2000. You know what I mean? Like, I was 10. Like, we were both 10. Me and you were 10 years old at that time. Yeah. Like, it's hard to explain now because you've got 5-year-olds playing Fortnite on their phone.
Yeah.
But like when we were that age, like to play, and I didn't have a PC really, like to play Quake online or download, like you said, Choo Choo Rocket levels. And Choo Choo Rocket is such a good game. Like, why has there never been a sequel?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why, I know it got ported, but why has there never been a Choo Choo Rocket sequel? But yeah, the Dreamcast was great. It was just one of those consoles, like for me, and I'm sure you agree, is the last. It was definitely the last arcade console.
Yeah, it was more that. It was more the focus. You didn't really get like compared to now story-driven sort of games.
No,
there's a few.
There's a few big ones.
Yeah,
and it was based on the Naomi board, right? So it was like the last sort of bastion for arcade stuff. But it was also the first online. It was so ahead of its time, and I've always thought how fascinating the game industry would be if Sega had enough money to hold out for another 18 months. Like, it would have been fab. You look at all the games that came out between March 2001 and say July 2002 that Sega put on the other consoles. You think, stuff like Super Monkey Ball and stuff like that. You think Sonic Heroes, and you're like, you know what? I think Dreamcast could have been okay, but we'll never know, sadly. But yeah, so going into the collecting aspect, so obviously you're going to be the bulk of this, but I'll talk about my little collection. I've kind of always picked up Dreamcast games when I've seen them.
Yeah.
Like, I've always said, like, I've still got my box for my Dreamcast, all the wires, everything. Still got it. It's in my mum's attic. And so when I was at uni, for those people who went to university probably in the last sort of like 10 years, you just don't have any money, so you kind of rely on your old console. There's always an old console, right? And if you go into a dorm room, a shared common room, there's always an old games console. Usually it's like a GameCube or an N64. But for me, I always had my Dreamcast with me. I sold my 360 when I went to uni. I sold almost all my DVDs, but my Dreamcast was always there. And I used to sit there with my friends and play Choo Choo Rocket, Power Stone 1 and 2, fucking unreal games. Another game that needs a sequel. And we used to do time trials on Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, and so I used to just pick up these games. And for a while, about 10 years ago, which again you'll be able to tell me in a minute, games were really cheap for it. They're not anymore. Were. But like, they used to be like, I remember buying sealed copies of Jet Set Radio because
I paid a $5 for my.
I paid about from Amazon.
I got 2 copies of it, unsealed, which I can play, and a sealed one, which cost me a $5.
Yeah. And because the reason that you would buy so many games, but I know yours is more collecting, but for me, is the cases were trash. They looked amazing, but the hinges used to break.
You think Sega would learn after the Saturn?
Oh god, especially over here, because it was just over here. The Saturn was awful, awful. But and it was dual cases, wasn't it, in America for the Dreamcast and Japan? For some reason, we had these weird double cases. But
do you think it was because Sega was so big in Europe they gave us fancier cases?
Well, that's the thing to talk about. Like, whenever anyone talks about Sega, they only ever talk about the American side of things. Really, very few people. I've had very few people talk about the US. But in the UK, Sega was massive. Yeah, it was arguably bigger than Nintendo for most of our lives, certainly. So, yeah, it did have quite a good backing. We had obviously the Dream Key online system, which was a lot less strict than SegaNet. Yeah. So like, you didn't have to have, like, you didn't. I don't remember paying for it. I don't believe we had to pay for it over here. It was just you just had to get the disc, right? I don't think you paid for it in the UK. Again, someone tell us if we're wrong, but I'm pretty sure you didn't.
You dial up like as a phone call or something.
Oh yeah, you paid the internet, but you didn't pay a service.
No.
The only service you had to pay over here was PSO.
Yeah.
Which, another amazing game, by the way. First online MMO I really played.
Yeah, that was just like the first online game I actually played.
I've still got.
Like I said, I downloaded stuff for Choo Choo Rocket, but Fantasy Star Online was the first
one. Fantasy Star Online is. There's very few games on console that are like life changing. Yeah. But like PSO was totally, for me anyway, like, because I played some MMOs on PC. I played EverQuest and some like Star Wars Galaxies and stuff around the same time. But PSO, because it was an actiony game. And it had the really cool like setting. It was really weird and different at the time.
But that's like the thing with the Dreamcast. When you look about now, anyone will tell you like how it's so ahead of the time.
Oh, it's crazy.
Online, out of the box, MMOs on it. Downloadable content for people. There's content you could buy. Second screen on the controller.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the VMU. Okay, that's crazy.
Motion controls with the Samba Maracas and the fishing rod.
Was that? Yeah, there was motion controls.
You can play Soul Calibur with it as well.
Yeah, I just imagine that. Had a really good arcade stick as well.
And I think Virtua Tennis kind of works with it as well. A tennis game with motion controls, that'd never take off.
No, not in 1999, Chris.
And like all things like that. You know,
it was crazy
when you look back now. So it did like everything.
It also had it was also the first enhanced visuals. It had 480p 5VGA. It still looks incredible now, by the way.
Yeah,
great stereo sound. Its only real technical issue is that because of how much it cost to make the Saturn, it had a very cheap disk drive.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly loud. Like I know it's a common joke that it's like that grinding noise. Me and you could probably hear it in our sleeps because we played in our Dreamcast. But they are quite prone to failure. That's probably my biggest
They have
complaint.
like reset issues. It's not as bad.
Mine's awful. Mine's been like padded together so much.
Japanese versions don't have that issue.
It's because there's later models, isn't it?
Something to do with the power supply as well.
The power ones were very unreliable.
I always mean to pick up a Japanese console, but I'm kind of waiting for mine to die again. When this one dies, it can be an excuse to pick up a Japanese one.
Well, another good thing to segue into is that the modding community is massive for the Dreamcast, and it's one of the easiest consoles to mod. I'm dying inside because I really need to do a USB mod to it, and just take the disk drive out and just fill it full of ROMs, and then I haven't got to ruin my beautiful discs.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of like, I see people do that, and like, so the console doesn't break and stuff, but I don't know, because I've collected Dreamcast games, I like kind of don't want to do that. It feels sort of wrong.
I think for me, like, I would only play games that I own, and it would be from a disc preservation kind of thing, because the discs are quite prone to like if you get one scratch on a Dreamcast disc, it will not load. And sure, you can run backups, but that'll just run your laser even worse, you know. Luckily, and one thing we'll move on to now quickly, is that there's a lot of Dreamcast games that have been ported elsewhere.
Yes.
So, like, I remember having a chat to you that the Xbox One has something like 20-odd Dreamcast or, like, 30-odd Sega games on there via the backwards compatibility program. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur, all that stuff has been ported. A lot of the games you can play elsewhere, thankfully. Skies of Arcadia just needs to come to fucking digital platforms though, and that's kind of, I think, somewhat wanes its legacy a little bit, but like I still like having the hardware because I grew up with it. The control, obviously, we will talk about the VMUs, was the memory unit, had a screen it, and you could play mini games on it if the battery lasted longer than 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Still was flash memory though, so it was great. It wouldn't, like the Saturn used to just wipe your memory when the battery died. This didn't happen with the Dreamcast. You just have like a squeaky noise when you turned it on. But that was great. Sorry, it was crazy ahead of its time. It used to display on the controller like.
Yeah, Skies of Arcadia had a little mini aeroplane.
Oh, did it? Yeah. Oh, I remember playing the Chow stuff. I loved it.
And you could transfer like characters and stuff.
Yeah, you could join them together. Yeah.
Oh, and that's just thinking as well. Also, something it did before the GameCube was there was a link cable between the Dreamcast and the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Yeah, for Sonic Pocket Adventure. Right?
And King of the Fighters.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Because Sega was trying to like semi-third party by the end, wasn't it? So he was trying to like, partner with other guys.
Yeah, but there was links between the console and that with cables.
Nice. And it also had the thing about the VMU I loved is for certain games it would display like data, kind of like the Wii U did, but obviously lots of. The biggest game I remember, not a game I played much, but the biggest game I remember being really useful was Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Because it displayed your health, right?
Yeah.
Which was like a pain in the ass. Usually you had to like.
I think it might have done that for Ready to Rumble Boxing.
Ready to Rumble, it definitely did, and you used to have your because I got Ready to Rumble Boxing round 2, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's amazing. It would have your like hit percentages.
Yeah.
So when you like struck a hit, so you hit with a heavy punch, it would tell you the damage and stuff, which was crazy ahead of its time. Scores used to be displayed on I think Ikaruga and stuff as well, and like obviously Sonic they had like little cutscenes where it would like run around and it would change when you were playing as Tails. It would be like your Tails on the screen and stuff. It was cool, and I know the controller people get some hate on it now because it was kind of cheap in places. The stick is probably the worst thing because it's cheap hard plastic. It just hasn't aged well. Like at the time, I didn't have a problem with it, and even now, I don't have a problem with it. I love the triggers. I like the form factor. People hate it, but I like it. It's just a bit. It was obviously just a bit too early. It should have had a second stick.
Yeah, it's B's let down now. So the lack of a second stick.
But
there is mods and stuff for it, but it's not quite
you can see that because like it was literally the Saturn's analog controller, right? It was basically that, but no, I can kind of see it was 1998 when they released it, for Christ's sake. Like the DualShock had only been out like a year, if that. Right, because the DualShock was out for Resident Evil 2. There was a version of Resident Evil 2, which was doing like 98, 99, right? I think that kind of.
98 it came out, but I don't know.
Obviously, you had the stick on the N64, but it was horrible and weird and nasty. And sorry, Nintendo fans, not a big N64 guy. But yeah, so we'll talk about what's your favourite Dreamcast game?
My favourite.
You're absolutely and I don't mean just like, like one that you. It doesn't have to be the best game. It's just a game that you love. You've got the most memory with. You play. You'd probably go back and play more than any other game. Mine's really obvious because I talk about it all the time.
it's gonna have to be Shenmue 2.
Shenmue 2, so 2, not 1.
Yeah.
So I haven't played. So 2 is weird because 2 came out in Japan and Europe.
Yeah.
But then didn't come out in America.
Yeah.
Because
and in Europe it's in Japanese with English subtitles.
Yeah, they ported it then to the OG Xbox
which
worldwide.
had English dub.
And then recently we've had the Shenmue remaster, which is the best way to play those games. Please, if you're gonna play those games, buy them that way. It's so much better. Why was Shenmue 2 in particular so special to you? And when did it come out? So it came out the end of 2001?
Yeah,
so it was the last one?
Yeah, so it's one of the last Dreamcast games I would have mostly bought, like, new in the shop.
Yeah.
That was, like, a proper new release, not like a, £5 new copy of Jet Set Radio sort of thing. And just, like, sort of, like Shenmue 1 had, had open world elements and stuff like that, and it did all these things, but Shenmue 2 was, like, miles bigger, and, like, the story just better than the first one for me personally, and it just did what the first one did, but just big on a bigger, grander scale. That makes sense.
I think the thing with Shenmue is that Shenmue was the one game series on the Dreamcast that really points to the future. So it's what Sega could have done, and it's what the rest of the industry did. You had GTA 3 afterwards.
Exactly. A lot of people now look back and go, GTA 3 but it wasn't one of the first open world games. Shenmue, 2 definitely over the first one. You could still say the first was kind of linear and it's got in this box stuff, like all the amount of detail, like you can go into your room and open your.
Well, we played it recently, and we'll eventually do a podcast about that, or we'll do a written review or whatever. But going back, it's definitely a game that's aged, but you can see this. If you played this game in, when did it come out, 2000 or was it 99? 2000, right?
95,
Was it 99?
I think for Shenmue 1
in Japan or in Europe, just generally, just worldwide. I can't remember. It's literally almost 20 years ago. But if you played that game at the time, it was so ahead of its time, and it didn't sell very well because it was ahead of its time. It was very niche, very Japanese. If Shenmue would come out now, in terms of it'll be interesting to see with Shenmue 3 actually, because it's obviously that's going to be modern.
Yeah.
You hope.
That's going to be awful.
It's going to be awful, but you hope it's going to be modern, because that's Japanese games are a lot more popular now than they were then. You used to have JRPGs that were popular then, but they were very westernized. Almost all of the big ones, 7 and 8 for Final Fantasy, were very western. Really, in their settings and stuff. Compared, I know they've got long hair weeaboos and stuff, but they weren't super anime girl. You know what I mean? They were like Persona, for example. But I think it'd be crazy Shenmue at the time. And it's again, I wish there would have been enough the Dreamcast to have gone a bit longer and seen what they could have done with those type of games. But I mean, for me, it's really obvious. It's the Sonic Adventure series. It's hard for me to pick. I probably prefer Sonic Adventure 1. I know that everyone hates that game now, but much like Shenmue, it hasn't aged particularly well. But it's got that charm, and it's just so good. It tries different things. It's got different types of gameplay, and it's got a weird, almost just prototype of Sega. Well, it's like Sega Bass Fishing. It's weird that that's in there. The Sonic levels, the Tails levels, absolutely amazing still. I play that game almost yearly. I recently beat it on Xbox One.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. Sonic Adventure 2 in particular has a special thing for me because it's basically the last Dreamcast game for me.
Yeah.
I got it for my birthday in 2001. I actually still have the disc. The case sadly is long gone. That's one of those things I want to replace. It was the anniversary. It was the 10-year anniversary game.
Something like that.
So,
because it's the anniversary.
It was 91. Yeah, in Japan.
I had that at one point. I remember I swapped it for something. I can't remember what I
once saw it. Really.
I think I might have swapped it for a Jaguar game.
Oh god, I once saw it for 15 quid and didn't buy it, and I should have just done it. But Sonic Adventure 2, although I actually think it's a worse game because only 30% of that game's fun. The Sonic and Shadow levels are great.
Yeah.
The Rouge and Knuckles levels are objectively worse because you have to do the things in order now. You have to do the crystals in order.
Yeah.
In the first game, you could find them anyway.
Yeah, sure.
And some of them are timed as well. And then you don't have Tikal showing you where. They are objectively worse. And then the shooting levels are kind of annoying because all you hear is the whole game because you're holding the B button to aim. And they're not bad, but they're if you cut it into thing, that's 30% of the game that's actually fun.
Yeah,
now that 30% is the best. The secret Green Hill Zone level and stuff, it's amazing. Shadow is probably my favourite Sonic character. I know that's so edgelord to say. I loved Shadow when I was 11. I was oh my god, Shadow's so cool. He's brooding and stuff. Oh, it's wicked. And Rouge is a bat with tits and Yeah. But yeah, the Sonic Adventure games for me, they're the last time that Sonic had any respect.
Yeah.
After that, you had Sonic 06.
Yeah.
You had the Advanced series, which people
No,
liked.
but Heroes wasn't too bad on the GameCube.
Heroes was okay. It was awful on PS2.
Yeah.
That's the version everyone bought.
I played it on GameCube.
You had Shadow the Hedgehog after that.
Yeah.
Which was terrible.
And
a joke. And then you had Sonic 06. So Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are probably my combined favourite game, and I Shenmue 1 and 2 for you. So, Chris, we're into fancy booking time now.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You got your list?
I'm always ready.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take turns. We tried to be alphabetical order, but some of us have, been taking a lot of painkillers recently, so they don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about our 20 games. So this is, if this releases at a normal time, there's been a rumour, because of Sega Japan tweeting some stuff, that there might be a Dreamcast Mini.
Yeah. They were asking as well,
what colour variants.
What's your favourite colour variant?
Oh my god!
Imagine if it comes out and it's like the Shikira Wars.
Well, imagine if it comes out and they do 4 different. They won't do it in the UK, but imagine in Japan if it comes out and has 5 different versions. You'll have to order all 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in America they'll have the black one and the white one, and we'll just get the white one. But again, no matter what, if any of these games are on here, like if it's 50-50, right, we're buying this. So. We'll start off with Chris. Chris, what's your first game for your 20+1 Dreamcast classic?
Bang.io.
Yeah, I think I've played Bang.io. Explain Bang.io.
It's from Treasure.
Yeah,
so they make Gunstar Heroes.
Great developer.
And so they make great games. They kind of remind me like the Platinum of the day.
Of the day, yeah, totally.
Sort of thing. And Bang.io is like this weird platforming shoot 'em up.
Yeah, I've always seen
it's kind of a bit. Not because Gunstar Heroes is way more platformy than Bang.io. It did have a weird. I think there's an N64 port of it, but it just does like that weird Japaneseness that like the Dreamcast had, and it's something. There's no other game. Well, there is actually sort of similar game on my list that is like it. So just wanted this like on like 20 games. What's like this weird genre type. Game.
It's a good choice.
That isn't a platformer, isn't a racing game, blah, blah, blah. So I was trying to think of that thing, so that's why I'm going for that.
I've got to say as well, this list is really hard for me to do, and that's not on my list.
Yeah.
It's close, because I love Bang.io, and there's the other game that's like it isn't on my list either, that's probably on your list. So my number 1 is Choo Choo Rocket.
Oh, that's I got that as 2.
Yeah, that's Choo Choo Rocket is a puzzle game where you have to guide mice to a rocket ship so they can fly up. It had online multiplayer, it had local multiplayer, had a challenge mode, had DLC as we've talked about. One of the most charming, amazing games. It was a Sonic Team game. Just fuck, man. Choo Choo Rocket is great. You should play Choo Choo Rocket.
Yeah.
Number 2, Chris.
So my next game then is Crazy Taxi,
which was my number 3. Crazy Taxi. Only issue with this is licensing, but
that is my issue.
They have re-released it, so
that's what they would have to put on there. I was debating between this and number 2, but I thought most people remember the first one. So
very few people know that there's sequels. I was talking to someone.
Number 3 is an
Xbox. Yeah, I was talking to someone saying about the High Roller was on the Xbox. He was like, "What?"
Yeah.
But Crazy Taxi, Chris, a great arcade game.
Yeah, it's a great arcade game. Shows what the Dreamcast was about with the whole arcade thing. It's just a fun pick up and play a game. I think it would still hold up well today because it's just so simple. You just drive someone to thing.
Endless fun.
Yeah.
So mine is not necessarily the best game, okay? But this next one is one that I know they would put on it.
Yeah.
And that is Echo the Dolphin, Defender of Future.
I haven't got that.
No, I wasn't expecting to. So Echo the Dolphin was a massive game in the early 90s. You play a dolphin with weird powers saving the universe, and there's floating animals and lasers and shit. The 3D version's actually pretty good. And it was very unique on the Dreamcast because it had some really good underwater movement mechanics. And it's one of those things that I think at the time was quite derisory because there was so many games like that. There were so many weird platform games. Like now it would be like Ori and the Blind Forest, right? It'd be like one of those games. People are like, oh, it's so cool. Yeah. But Echo the Dolphin.
They did have a sequel on PS2, there is Dreamcast ROMs of it you can download and play.
Well, that's another one of those in our future, when we go back in time and give Sega $100 billion and they keep going. Yeah. That's one of those that would have been on 2002 Sega. But Echo the Dolphin Defender of Future is my number 3. Chris, your number 3 or 4?
Or
whatever. Next one.
Daytona! Okay. USA 2001.
It's not on my list.
Yeah, it's
the most said phrase we're going to say in this whole thing. That's a classic Sega arcade game.
It is a classic Sega arcade game which has a bit of a multiplayer aspect. And again, I think it's told up pretty.
You still see the 2001 board in arcade places. Like if you go into like a coastal holiday home in Devon, you will find a Daytona 2001.
Yeah, I think I might have played it when I went to on holiday recently.
Well, we went on holiday a couple of years ago to Cornwall. There was a Daytona. I sat there for about an hour playing Daytona and Sega Rally 2.
Yeah, so good too.
My next one is my second favourite game on the console. Yeah. That's Jet Set Radio.
I have Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio is one of the fucking most amazing games. Yeah. Because it's a cel-shaded game. It's kind of like Tony Hawk's, but then it's kind of like GTA.
If I was going to say, I was talking about games holding up. If any game holds up the best on the Dreamcast, it's Jet Set Radio. It's Jet Set Radio.
Now, Jet Set Radio Future is better, which is like a weird pseudo sequel on the OG Xbox, which they've never re-released purely because of licensing. Purely, that's why. The Jet Set Radio is available on everything. It's available on Xbox One. It's available on Vita. Yeah. And if you haven't played Jet Set Radio, you should seek it out. It's very cheap. But yeah, it's an open world skateboarding gang-y sort of game. You've got like tricks and the music is unreal good.
You do
graffiti. It was great. Just really so good. And again, I still play that on my actual model when I get a chance. Next one, Chris.
Headhunter.
Oh god, I got so close to that. Headhunter is the Dreamcast game you see the most in shops.
Yeah,
apart from Sonic Adventure.
This was a weird one. Me and my cousin bought it on the same day. I bought a Dreamcast, he bought it on PS2.
I remember the PS2. So what is Headhunter?
It's an open world-ish. You're like a headhunt. Well, not in like the business sense, but more like an assassin sense. Yeah. And you basically go kill people when you drive a motorbike around town. Yeah. Because it sort of thinking about it, it sort of sounds really similar to No More Heroes, but more realistic.
It was a weird game. Was that European? Was that the European exclusive one?
I think it might have been. I don't think America got.
There was one that was like didn't come out in America. I think the Headhunter was something else, but it's the same. It's got like a Neo looking dude on the cover. Yeah. Yeah, that's another great game.
For some reason, it quite often gets brought up with like metal. Oh, it's the Dreamcast because the Dreamcast version came out before the PS2 version. But I remember me and my cousin for some reason buying it together. I think I must have been down there. I went in a game shop and he picked it up and I picked it up. So a lot of people, I remember, it's all Metal Gear sort of thing. It's like, even though it's not really comparable
that was Fighting Force 2, Chris.
It's not
on this list. Just like yeah. So my next game is an absolute banger. Yeah. That's Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
I have Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
So I could have easily put Street Fighter Third Strike in the spot, but I didn't want to.
What? Over Street Fighter Alpha 3?
Seriously, Street Fighter 3 is the better game, but has worse characters. No. But Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is the one they will go for because it has the best characters.
It's the best 2D fighter game ever made.
It's up there. The thing about the Dreamcast, in your opinion, it's too hectic for me. Third Strike's better, but the Dreamcast has 10 plus 2D fight. You could have put in that spot.
Honestly, you could make a 21 game list of just fighting games on the Dreamcast.
And it is unreal. Honestly, like
it has to, apart from a Neo Geo, maybe the best console ever for fighting games.
It's ridiculous. Like really, like for 18 months, they had like 4 Street Fighter games, 2 Marvel vs. Capcoms,
load of Capcom vs. SNK,
2 Power Stone,
King of Fighters.
They had Rival Schools came out as well, which is a great game. But yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is is one of the most popular games. It's still the Dreamcast version is still used in Evo. Has recognizable characters. It's a pretty easy fighting game to learn as well. Like Street Fighter 3 isn't. It's so technical it hurts. But like yeah, man, like there could have been 100 games in that spot, but mine was Marvel Capcom 2. So
okay, so. My next one then is Metropolis Street Racer.
That is on my list and is my favourite racing game on the console.
The thing is, I just realised I put like 3 car games on my list.
There's like 4 on mine, I think.
Even though they're all slightly, obviously different.
That's why Daytona didn't make it to my list.
Daytona and Crazy Taxi are both similar, but I really wanted a realistic racing game sort of thing. The only problem is not going to be ever on there because of licensing.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously Bizarre Creations are dead.
Yeah.
So it's the prequel to Project Gotham Racing. There's a DC joke in there somewhere. And I've played it recently. It still holds up. Really does. It has the kudos system, great graphics, great music, really tight arcade simulation racing, like that team were known for. But
it had the whole thing with the clock as well. You put your clock on the Dreamcast, and then if you're driving like Tokyo, I don't know if Tokyo was on there, but it's like the same
Tokyo
time.
was on there.
If it's the same time as the actual Tokyo,
Yeah,
or something
it's
like
different weather and different lighting and stuff. And they'd have like special events and had some online functions as well. Yeah, MSR's a great game. Unreal game. So my next one is a sports game, which means it definitely wouldn't be on there, but you need to have one on there.
Yeah.
And mine is the best sports game, one of the best sports games on the Dreamcast, NFL Blitz 2000.
Okay.
NFL Blitz is amazing. Arcade football.
Yeah.
Now, I could have chosen a soccer game, but there really isn't any that are that good.
They're not, none of the football games.
And I have like 6 of them that I own, and they're not good.
No.
And there's 2K, the licensing's what stopped me.
Yeah.
Now, 2K01 is like, is it 1 or 2? It's 02, right? Is that the last one?
Yeah, there's definitely 2.
Yeah, and that's like amazing. And NBA Showtime's okay.
NBA 2K2 is like one of the last. That's like one of the last Dreamcast games I bought. I think I paid like 25 quid for it. It sounds ridiculous for like a really old sports game. But like it looks so good and plays so well, and it's now online again as well. I think through Dreamcast.
It was one of the last Sega Sports games titles as well before they got bought out by. It's one of the games. It's one of only 2 games that's on every console that gen, right? The other one is on my list. We'll talk about it next. But NFL Blitz is simple to understand. It's really arcadey fun. It still looks pretty good. I can't even remember if it's licensed teams or not. I imagine it is because it's NFL. And it has a lovely production error where the spine doesn't have the name of the game on it. Yeah. So I own it. It's great. It's just I wanted a fun game. I remember playing that in what is now Pink Planet in Taunton. Yeah. I remember walking in, like, after the Dreamcast was dead, like 2002, 2003, and playing that with some friends for like half an hour. I was like, this is amazing. But yeah, I wanted a sports game, and that was the sports game I went for.
Okay. So my next game is Phantasy Star Online version 2.
So when we talked about this list, we were like, is it going to have online? So we were like, if it does, then definitely PSO.
Yeah, it has to be.
I know we've talked about it already, but PSO is an incredible game. Even now, there's a very strong community that play the game every day. Great community. I wish in our dream scenario we can hook up a Dreamcast keyboard and we can chat to friends, and it's
pretty much. Dreamcast also had keyboard and mouse support for first-person shooters.
It did. The Xbox is only just getting that. It was also crossplay. PSO was crossplay with the PC and the GameCube version.
It had crossplay as well before PS2.
Greatest console of all time. Who knows? But so yeah, PSO is a good choice, Chris.
Yep. So it's your next one.
Mine is weird, right? Yeah. So it didn't come out in Europe. Yeah. But it did come out on Dreamcast. Yeah. It's Puyo Pop Fever.
Okay.
Now, the reason, again, I wanted a puzzle game. Yeah. And this is the most Sega of the puzzle games. Yeah. I like Mr. Driller. I like Buster Move 4. But Puyo Pop Fever came out on every console. I have it in Europe on the GameCube.
It is Sega's last Dreamcast game.
Which is, again, a good reason to have it on there. Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's timeless. It looks great. It's very colourful, very Japanese. Puyo Pop is just a fun-ass game, and you want a puzzle game on these classic consoles, don't you?
Yeah,
that would be the one.
GameCube,
I have it on GameCube, but that is the one I would put on here for sure.
So my next one is Power Stone 2.
Also on mine. So why did you? Because one is a better game, right? But why did you go for 2?
Because that's 4-player.
That's why I went for it as well. Yeah. But if there is a fighting, like we said about Choo Choo Rocket and Jet Zero, if there is a series that needs a sequel, I can't believe Capcom haven't Power Stone 3. Like, why not? It's so good. Yeah. But it was like and it was an arena fighter. It wasn't a traditional like side-scrolling fight. It was an arena fighter. So you used to pick up weapons and throw them at each other. It was kind of like Smash Bros-esque before Smash Bros. Well, before Melee anyway. You could have like moving scaling levels. You could power up your characters with the Power Stones, and they would turn into like super moves. And it was so good. Like even now, Power Stone, you can get them. Like the PSP collection was like £1 the other day on the Vita. Would highly recommend.
Yeah, but I think that kind of loses its charm.
It needs multiplayer. It's one of those that it needs a console. Even if they just put them like the Dreamcast ROMs on Xbox One, I'd buy it right now. But Power Stone 2 is a great choice, Chris.
Yeah. So your next one?
My next one is a weird one you scoffed at before we started thing. I wanted a third party game and I wanted a third party platformer. Yeah. So I've gone for the game that's on everything, and that's Rayman 2 Great Escape.
That game is on like every console.
It's on every single console. It is a great game. The Dreamcast version in particular is a fantastic port. Yeah. Arguably the best port. Yeah. Arguably it runs well, looks great. At the time, Rayman 2 was really ahead of its time. It was very sort of like linear for a platformer, but it was beautiful, had great music, lots of good power-ups, and it was probably Rayman's last great 3D game, right? 3 was okay, and then you had all the Rabbids stuff. But I think Rayman 2 would be an interesting choice.
Okay. So my next game is Resident Evil Code Veronica.
It's also the Resident Evil I went for on my list.
Yeah, basically it was originally a Dreamcast. It
should have been 3.
It should have been Resident Evil 3, but there's some weird thing with like Sony or something, so it became Code Veronica. This is a weird one. I got it on my list. It's my least favourite proper Resident Evil. Being proper because 5 and 6 aren't Resident Evil games.
Yeah. And 4, arguably.
And the whole
of the classic. We'll say classic. The early thousands.
Yeah, the classic one is my least favourite. But I thought most of the games I've picked so far are like arcadey multiplayer game. So I wanted like a single player story driven sort of like a game you can like sink your teeth into.
Resident Evil Code Veronica at the time was one of the best looking games I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Because it's the first Resident Evil that didn't use pre-rendered backgrounds. I don't think. I think it was all rendered. Someone quote me on that, but I think it was all rendered. Beautiful cutscenes, really good story. It gets a lot of shit because it's not Resident Evil 2, but I think it's a better game than Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
Personally, I
do really like 3. Though.
I'm not a big Resident Evil. I think Nemesis makes 3 better than it is, and because there's a lot of locations from 2, so you get that kind of nostalgia. But I think Code Veronica, especially Code Veronica X, which was the ported version with a better camera, is a very, very, very good game. And again, it's on everything now. You can buy it on. I believe it's on Xbox One.
Yeah,
I would highly recommend it. Again, I'm not a big zombie guy, but Code Veronica is so good. We're starting to cross over now. So my next one is Sega Rally 2.
I do not have that. I had it originally in there for got 4 races.
Well, it's what I had instead of Daytona, because I thought, a rally game is a bit different. Sega Rally, again, is one of those arcade classics Sega were known for. Again, you will still see this game in the arcade now. Okay, this and House of the Dead, which is not on my list because of
the guns. Same, yeah.
But
and also one new Sega Bass Fishing.
That's on mine. But so Sega Rally, I prefer V-Rally 2. Because it's more of a rally game, it's more simulation. But Sega Rally 2 looks great, plays great, it's arcadey classic. I wanted an arcadey racer. There isn't an Outrun on Dreamcast, which is what I would have put off instead.
Yeah.
But it's Sega Rally 2.
Okay. So my next game is Rez.
Rez not on my list. Another European exclusive?
Yeah.
Europe and Japan?
Yeah, Europe and Japan. I don't think the Yanks got it.
No, because everyone imports the European version, doesn't it?
This is the other one I was talking to Bangai-O, the weird Sega NUS and
So neither of us went for Ikaruga.
I totally forgot about it.
Exactly, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, that was the other one, but no, neither of us went for Ikaruga.
No, it's just out there.
It's very unique shooter, I guess. The PSVR version is the one you want to play now.
Rhythm based as well, so yeah, it's unique, different. You're not gonna see anything else like it.
Proper Japanese.
Yeah, it's proper Japanese.
It was a cool game, and still looks pretty good now as well. Yeah. Mine is Sega Bass Fishing.
Yeah, how are you playing it? Are they selling fishing rods?
We're playing it. We're gonna play it with a controller for now.
Okay.
Another game that's on everything. It's just a weird fishing game. It's a weird arcade fishing game. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's stupid. It shouldn't be fun, but it's really fun. And they've ported it to Xbox 360 and Xbox One.
I don't get why you play it without the fishing rod, though.
It's still kind of fun, I'll be honest.
Was there ever a Wii version?
You know what? I think there might be, but I'm not sure. It was definitely on the 360, because I have it on 360, and it's definitely on Xbox One.
Yeah.
But, it's just a weird arcade game, and Sega has to have these weird games. It was one of those that would definitely be on it. If they did a classic console today, it would definitely be on there.
Don't think
they've already ported it
because of the lack of fishing rod.
They've already ported
it.
It'll be on it.
Okay, so my next one is Shenmue.
Not on my list.
I think it has
because I forgot it, but it's not on my list. I would have put the first one on my list. Yeah. I wouldn't have put both.
Yeah.
I would have put the first one, but I completely forgot until you walked in. I was like, oh shit, Shenmue's on.
Yeah, I think it has to be.
We talked about it again. They've done ports recently.
Yeah.
The third game's coming out allegedly at some point. So I remember that Sony press conference where nothing came out. Yeah. Just saying, guys, Xbox for life. But yeah, we've obviously talked about it already in this podcast, but Shenmue, it has to be on Dreamcast. Yeah. It's not on mine because I forgot, but I'm sorry.
It'd be like having a PS1 classic without Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy.
It'd be like having a PS1 classic without Crash Bandicoot. Am I right? Son of a bitch. Or Gran Turismo.
License it.
Oh, that's okay. My next one is a game that I actually haven't played beyond a demo.
Yeah.
And it's the one Dreamcast game I wish I could buy, but I can't. But I don't trust it to live long enough for me to play it.
Yeah.
Skies of Arcadia.
That I do have that on my list.
Skies of Arcadia is so there's Grandia as well, but Skies of Arcadia is the turn-based RPG. You're Sky Pirates. You play as Vice and other characters. It's Sega through and through. It's that along with what's the one that's on? Fucking no, is it Thunder Force? I can't remember what it's called. No.
Time Stalkers.
No. There's a turn-based strategy Fire Emblem-ish game.
You mean Shakira Wars or Shakira 10?
No, it's got a really obvious name. It's going to annoy me now.
I can't think what you're on about.
But there's a game like that that's on the Saturn and it's on the Sega CD. Those two franchises, right? I'm gonna have to look at them.
Luna?
Not Luna, it's the other one. It's Shining. Shining.
Yeah, the Shining series.
Yeah, Shining Force.
Yeah.
Shining Force. That and the Shining Force series. I know there's another one now, Shining Resonance, whatever. Yeah. But that and Shining Force are the two Japanese-based RPGs that should come back. Now, Skies Arcadia is like they did do a GameCube port which fixed all the problems, but it's fucking expensive.
And it's got problems with sound as well.
Sound problems like all the fucking GameCube ports did. We'll talk about that later on my list. But Skies Arcadia is the Dreamcast game.
I own it on both 11 consoles.
I know.
I don't really need to play.
It's one of those.
I had it on my disc because again I wanted like a robust single player game. And I thought there's no JRPGs on my list, so
it's like the one. It's the one port. It's to be honest with you, it's of all these games that we've got on here, that's the game where if they were like, right, it's on the classic, I would go and buy one because it's almost cheaper. If it was 100 quid, it's almost cheaper.
Switch, where's the GameCube Virtual Console? Where's the GameCube version?
Well, to be honest with you, I know this is completely going off route, but the stuff that I've read, you're probably going to see a lot of Dreamcast ports before you see any fucking GameCube ports.
Yeah.
Which again, if they put Skies of Arcadia on my Switch, I'll stop playing whatever I'm playing. I'll play that because it's just one of those games I always want to play. But yeah, your next one, Chris.
Right, before it's got Shenmue 2.
Again, we've talked about Shenmue 2. I haven't put that on my list either.
Yeah.
The next one is another Sega Bass Fishing game.
Okay.
A game that is definitely going to be on the list. Again, I don't think it's actually that great, but it'll definitely be on the list.
Yeah.
Space Channel 5.
It's on my list.
It's a rhythm game.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's cute. Ulala is a character that they love.
Yeah.
It would definitely be on. It's hard to explain. I mean, I know they're doing a VR game in Japan. It's just a rhythm dance game. It's really weird and like Sega-y, and it will definitely be on any classic console.
Would there be issues with Michael Jackson?
It's already been ported to Xbox 360 and PS and Xbox One.
Okay.
So they would use that port.
Okay. Yeah.
It's actually on disc on Xbox 360.
Yeah. Do you know the sequel is really expensive?
Part 2, yeah. Your next game, Chris.
So it's gonna be Sonic Adventure.
Yes, you just gone for the first one. Have you gone for both?
I've gone for both.
I've also gone for both. So we'll just talk about that. But I've talked at length for how much I love them. Yeah. You clearly love them too.
Yeah,
they are the mascot games for the console. There was no way. It's on everything you buy.
And why wanted a platformer, and it was like,
and you weren't going to put Rayman on there or Kay the Kangaroo. So
no,
you had to go for Sonic.
I had to go for Sonic, and it's a Sega console. It has to have Sonic on it.
Exactly, and in the West, it's an institution.
Yeah.
My one in between is the fighting game on the Dreamcast.
Soul Calibur.
Yeah. Soul Calibur.
Yeah, I have that as well.
The first game that was better than the arcade version. Yeah. Everyone knows about Soul Calibur. Obviously, 6 has just come out. Soul Calibur, even now, looks amazing on the Dreamcast.
It holds up really well.
It looks unreal. You play it with Fish Roll, exactly. You play it with the arcade stick. You play it with anything. It's just a great game. It was fun. It was easy to learn. Great graphics. Again, it still holds up. One of the first games to use the 480p widescreen mode in the Dreamcast. It looks amazing. But yeah, that's that one.
Alright, I have one game left. How many?
I have 2, so I'll do my next one. My next one is Virtua Tennis 2.
That's my last game.
Damn it. So that's fine, I'll do my last one. Virtua Tennis 2 is arcade goodness. It's an arcade classic, guys.
Yeah.
But it's Sega was always really good at their sports arcade games. It was a nice balance between arcadey and simulation. The Virtua Tennis series is still my favourite tennis series. I liked Top Spin. Yeah. But Virtua Tennis, and when they used that engine for Sega Superstar Tennis as well, it's just incredible. It's just fun. It's really easy to learn. There's a lot of content. I actually have Virtua Tennis 2 sealed. It's the only Dreamcast game I have sealed because I love it that much. Both games are great, but the second one is slightly more up to date. The only issue that would be with licensing the players, but who knows? You could probably just fucking... Because like Tim Henman and Sampras and stuff, they'd probably be up for the bit of money.
Yeah, plus I mainly wanted the sports game on my list.
It's the other sports game. It's a good... I think it's 4-player.
The only other sports game, apart from like the NBAs and stuff that the UK got, that I would consider, but the license issues would be stupid would be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is one of the best games on the console, and that's why I didn't put it on for licensing. The only one that tempted me that I haven't put on here is Virtual Athlete 2, which is really fun, really arcadey athlete game. But the first one on Saturn is better. And my last game is Worms World Pie, which is a really good local 4-player game. Recently had the servers put back up. I think Armageddon's probably slightly a better game, but Worms World Pie is the newer game, and it was really good on the Dreamcast. And one of the games when I eventually set my Dream Pie up, that's one of the games I'm going to play a lot because Worms is great.
I've been big Worms.
I love Worms. Worms is so good. It was on the Dreamcast. I remember Armageddon being played for literally weeks on end. So, so what we said that we're going to do a cheeky Star Fox 2 game, Chris.
Yeah.
So what's yours? Because mine's the obvious one.
My 21st game, the Star Fox 2 game. The game was done. It was supposed to come out, and then it got delayed. Because of 9/11 happened.
Yes, you've gone for the other one. Okay.
So 9/11 happened, so obviously it was in bad taste to release this game. So Sega delayed it, and then obviously the Dreamcast
just died a death.
So they never bothered releasing Propeller Arena.
And you know what? I've played a ROM of this.
I have
you have like a repro.
Yeah.
It's actually really good.
It is really good.
It's basically like Crimson Skies before it came out.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Dogfighting airplane game, basically. Yeah, that's why it was in poor taste, because it was in it. You blow airplanes out. I think you crash into people and stuff as well.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And like obviously it got delayed everywhere. So it's like because obviously the Dreamcast kept going a bit longer here than the States. So it's a little bit annoying that we didn't get it eventually officially. But there's like you can download the full version of that game, and it plays really well. So. It's a weird one because if it did come out, you could see it in like top 25, top 30 lists and stuff quite often because it's.
And it would be one of if our Dream console had online, it would be one of the mainstays.
Yeah.
Mine's the obvious one, and that's Half-Life.
Yeah.
Again, another game that was finished, was printed. They had the fucking guides done.
I got a really nice free pro of that.
Yeah, and I think that having the classic, they could fix the loading issue, which is probably why it didn't get released. I know the Dreamcast was basically dead, and that's why they didn't. But the games was like literally.
Was it Gearbox did it?
Oh, KB. Oh god, even before their time. But yeah, it's one of those that it's done. There's a Dreamcast version. That's ultimately the version that got bought to PS2.
Yeah.
It's one of those games. It's one of the last games when you start reading the magazines, and I have them. I have one somewhere that has Half-Life in it.
Yeah.
I remember being so excited because I wasn't a big PC guy, and I'd already decided that was one of the games I was going to get for my Dreamcast. I actually had it pre-ordered in Electronic Boutique. But you know, like sadly, I never got it.
No.
It's one of the ones that.
It's
got
really
away.
weird looking back at like old Dreamcast magazine games that didn't come out. And
there was a few.
Like
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
Oh, the games that changed dramatically. Shenmue was one of those. You know, it obviously was a Saturn game to begin with. But yeah, I think we could both agree that if either of these consoles came out for £100, the value compared to the PlayStation one is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And most of those games on both lists are Sega games. So if it did, I mean, half of the list would be on there. 100%. There's no way that they wouldn't have Sonic and Shenmue and Jet Set Radio and Skies Arcadia, right? So
yeah.
The Dreamcast, to close, Chris, and it's nearly an hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
The Dreamcast is the console that we both love.
Yeah.
Very close to our hearts. It was the end of Sega. It was sad. It was very sad. You know, like Sega, I know they got basically assimilated into Microsoft, basically, because the Xbox was Dreamcast 2.
Yeah.
They had like 11 exclusive Sega games or whatever on it. But yeah, I mean, gaming basically changed then. As soon as Sega went, it became mainstream, and we've not got a problem with that really. But you miss it, you know. And I still dream about them bringing it back.
Yeah,
I think they could. I think there's a place. I think there is a place in the market. They just need a wealthy backer. But I think.
Yeah, because now let's say only like
only Atlas and Football Manager, guys. Just saying.
Persona 6.
Persona 6 and Shin Megami Tensei 5 exclusive.
Yeah.
Just
Yakuza's exclusive.
All the Yakuza games exclusive. But anyway, so that was the Dreamcast. It was the Pod of War.
There was another game I think that never came out that.
There's loads.
There was another big one, but I can't remember.
Big one.
Yeah, I can't remember between Half-Life and Propeller Arena, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, there's quite a few like, you know,
that was like done.
They were like pretty much finished, and then they got cancelled like last minute. There's some that got ported to other consoles. Like there was one that was E-Valkyrie. Was it not E-Valkyrie?
Yeah, E-Valkyrie was like
not E-Valkyrie. It's Valkyrie something. It's
Gun Valkyrie.
Gun Valkyrie.
Yeah,
E-Valkyrie is the VR game.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much done, and there was some other ones like there's some great games like Virtual On that was going to have sequels and stuff like that. But yeah, we could talk about Dreamcast games all day because they're that good. But Would I recommend buying a Dreamcast and the old games now? Probably wouldn't. I'd probably hold out and wait to see if there's a classic model.
And like you said, most of the games are available elsewhere.
It really is only Skies Arcadia that you can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, and then like
MSR, but you can get PGR. Yeah, and do you know what I mean? Like an OG Xbox is so much cheaper to buy than a Dreamcast.
Yeah, Skies would be your only problem, and then if you're a GameCube collector or something. Between the original Xbox and GameCube, they have tons of Sega content.
And if you have an Xbox One, you can honestly play half of the lists we've put out. Like Daytona's on there, Sega Rally's on there, stuff like that.
Rayman 2 is bound to be on there.
Rayman 2 is almost certainly on there. But yeah, that was the other one was Castlevania. That was the big cancelled game for the Dreamcast. It wasn't finished though, but it was cancelled. But anyway, God, we're getting distracted. I've been your host, EofGizmo, joined forever and always by masofdas.
Yes, always.
And we will see you for the next episode of Potable.
Bye.